All righty. It is time for Financial Friday. So please, please, please come on in the room. Chime in. Let me know where you're watching from. Come on. I'm going to give it about a minute. It's 3 o'clock, but I'm going to give it a minute to have everybody come in, and we're going to get started shortly. Hope everyone is having a wonderful day. I hope you've been very productive. I have. It's just been a really good day, beautiful day. So I hope it's been that for you as well. All righty then. All righty, come on. Don't be shy. Come on in the room. We're going to get started shortly. Let me see. I'll check my phone right quickly, make sure I see it on my page. Because I think it is on there. Let me just double check. Yep, it is. Oh, I have 2 people. Now, y'all let me know who you are. I see 2 people watching. Let us know in the comments who you are and where you're watching from. Well, okay, it is 3:01. We are 1 minute past time. But once again, welcome to Financial Friday, where we talk about all things money. And the goal with Financial Friday is to empower you to manage your money wisely so you can live like royalty. And of course, I have been doing these for the past couple of weeks. We have discussed money and mindset, the basis of investments, B is for budget. And today we're going to talk all about real estate. And I want to introduce my special guest. His name is Antonio J. Davis. He is with Envisioned Properties, and I have known Antonio for well over 10 years. Probably, I think it's around 17. Yeah, it's a long time. He's been a very good friend of mine. We met on the campus of Jacksonville State. He is well versed when it comes to real estate, when it comes to finance, and he is a great asset when it comes to teaching things all money. So once again, welcome, Antonio. Thank you for being with us today.
Well, thank you, Belle. Such good accolades, and I feel so more than.
Awesome. So before we get started before we really get started into the heart of the conversation, so tell me your background and how you got started in real estate.
Ooh, how I got started? Got started in real estate officially in 2013. I kind of was thrust into it. A situation that happened in 2013 that kind of thrust me into it. You're very much aware of that situation, but it caused me during that time I was originally planning on buying my first rental property. And during the time I had some more or less turmoil in my life. And so I kind of wanted to back out the deal that I had already. I signed a contract for a house and so forth. And so I kind of wanted to back out the deal because of my future wasn't so clear to me. And so I mentioned this to my dad, and so he was like, "Yeah, go for it." He's like, and as I mentioned that I want to do real estate, he said, "I've always wanted to do that with my dad." And so he basically said, "Well, let's do it together." I said, "Sure." And I said, "Well, for me, from a financial standpoint," I said, "Well, if anything goes wrong, that's 2 people that can go out instead of just one." But that he just encouraged me to kind of go on. And so as things continued to unfold in 2013, real estate was kind of more or less my way out, the way I was able to avoid or to overlook the situation that I was going through in my life. And so during that time, I put all of my heart into real estate. And then after in 2013, ended up getting 3 properties that year. And so I kind of mostly dedicated my time into to that aspect of it. And so primarily looking for passive income, trying to build wealth. From my perspective, I'm looking at it from a generational wealth standpoint. And so that's kind of how I kind of fell off into it. And so and my dad also wanted to do it. So I thought it'd be a good adventure to have a father and son trying to work at it. So that's how I kind of started, and from there kind of exacerbated to what it is today. So
Wonderful. So let's talk about this. So what exactly is real estate? For the audience members who may have heard the term but don't know exactly what that is, kind of give us a definition of what exactly real estate is.
Real estate in its purest form is just land, essentially. But what you do with that land, it makes then you get the different categories of real estate. Because real estate is land, but then you can have on that land, you can have residential property. So that makes it residential real estate. Or you can have a commercial building. That makes it commercial real estate. Or you can have agricultural crops and so forth. And so this agricultural real estate. So it just depends on what you want to do with that land. But in its purest and simplest form, real estate is nothing but land.
Okay, cool. When it comes to for those members in the audience, or even for myself, what are some things that we need to be aware when we are deciding to purchase property?
Ooh, when you're trying to purchase property, good
Yes.
question. I think part of it is the being aware of your local state that governs real estate. Sometimes that's why I started to kind of understand what are the rules of this game, and within these rules, can I follow these rules? Are they realistic for the lifestyle that I have? So understanding the rules to which you are subject to, I think is the first when you first start. And then from there, you started getting out into timing. And when you look at economic activity, is it the right time? A lot of times when you look at the economy, when I purchased during that time in 2013, we were coming out of the 2008 crisis, or it was on the tail end. There's still some lag going forth. And so for me, and of course, that bubble, that crisis was stemmed from the housing market. So at that time, banks were trying to unload a lot of their property because with the bank holding property, it's a non-performing asset for the bank. So banks don't want that type of property. So a lot of times you get discounts. So for me, that was the time to buy because housing prices were low. But when you look back pre-crisis, those housing prices were actually pretty high. Those values were pretty high. So when you look at past historical prices compared to what they were, that's kind of where you can develop. This is kind of margin I'm kind of working with in terms of where I can go up from here and how much money or value that house may have in it. So the timing, of course, always plays a pivotal part in terms of what you need to know. A lot of times you need to know what the city is doing. If they are major attractions or they're bringing a major job, a job industry to the local area, that's good news. So that may also encourage you to go forth, because if there's jobs, that means there's rent to be paid. So you always want to understand the stability of your rent payments. You also want to look at, in terms of the house of itself, have inspections done when you're looking at purchase of property. Have a thorough inspection, and sometimes you can have two inspections done, because sometimes one inspector may miss something, the other may catch it. But while you may spend money on the front end, the amount of money that it can save you on the back end is immense. A lot of times, because say for instance, the second one found a foundational issue, but the first one missed. These foundational issues can sometimes run you $13,000-$20,000 to address. And so there again, you start in a house or a project with $20,000 already spent. And so you just want to understand there again the type of the property that you are acquiring, and you want to know and understand within that where your that property is located, in terms of if there's any rules within that subdivision that you may have to be subject to. So I'm trying to understand the true ins and outs of that property, where it's located, when you purchase it. And then sometimes I used to actually stay in these properties long enough, so I could feel like I actually stayed there. And so, because I used to do a lot of the work myself, so I spent a lot of time in each house. So I kind of knew, okay, what I'm getting myself into. If the water leaked, I knew why it leaked. So, but by the time I left, I felt comfortable with where the house was, because I worked on it. I kind of knew the ins and outs about that house. So just trying to know the whole entire process. But timing is definitely one thing of consideration.
Awesome. Okay. And one thing you actually just alluded to this, and my next question is, when is a good time to buy?
When goes back to the question in terms of one is, and from an individual perspective, are you financially able to purchase a home, or to take on additional responsibility as it relates to this additional property that you're acquiring? Two will be timing. You never want to buy when the market is high. You always want to buy generally when the market is low. Now this economy that we're living in is a very, very weird economy, and it usurps all the rules that we have been told, because it's rising and job losses are also rising. So that generally do not go hand in hand. But this is a weird economy right now. But on the flip side too, I read reports that housing prices are increasing too in the same environment. But even sometimes, although housing prices are rising, there's still diamonds in the rough that can be found. And a lot of times, if this is your first property, you want to try to find distressed property. Distressed property is essentially there's foreclosures, or someone's trying to unload a house. Maybe someone died and they want to, the family don't want to take on that house. They're just trying to unload it. Or some people may be experiencing financial distress. There may be tax liens are tied to a property. So there are a number of different ways that you can find some of these properties. Although the economy may be doing well and the housing prices are increasing, you still can find those, what I call diamonds in the rough, or those deals to be had through different avenues.
Okay. Wonderful. Awesome. So I know that when it comes to your real estate, I know you have rental properties, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So my next question is for those people who are looking to invest in real estate and are looking at rental properties, what are some pros and some cons of having rental property?
Well, I don't know which way. I don't take that the first part of the last, the pros or the cons.
Whatever you like.
I'll start with the negatives first, because a lot of times it's easier to, well, that's a lot of times what the people want to know. And a lot of times people hear the pros and want to jump into it, but also there's cons to it as well. And those are things that you really want to be cognizant of, are the cons, because sometimes that can make or break you. And with these cons, and because it's not going to always be glorious, it's not. So you always got to, and I don't want to set the expectation that all things going to work in this order, but just be prepared to adjust accordingly and to deal with certain things from a negative perspective, because it is what it is. And first and foremost would be the increased responsibility as it relates to an additional property. Whether if you own your primary residence now, you can expect the same thing with a rental property. When you have your sink gets clogged up, your roof want to leak, your air conditioner want to go out, your floors want to start buckling. All of those things are the same things that you need to deal that can happen with a rental property. Yes, you want to position yourself to tackle and to be in the position yourself to secure yourself as much as possible from those things. Some people do home warranties, or you always got to have insurance, always, because those different perils are still are possible, whether it's tornado, windstorms, and so forth. So you want to continuously insulate yourself as much as possible from those type of things that are happening. But whatever responsibilities that you will normally have, or even if you rent, whatever you will call that your landlord for, you can expect to be that landlord for a property that you own. So those properties that those issues that you call your landlord about, they will call you about as a property owner. So just be prepared for the increased level of responsibility. So want to act. You don't want to be a slumlord, because you want to address those issues that they're having, because they're paying for a service from you, and so you want to make sure that you're living up to your obligations as well. You can get tenants from hell. That is always a possibility, because sometimes they will tear your property up. They do not follow the rules that's necessary that you to. That's always a possibility. So there again, the increased financial strain that it will cause to get that property back up to par. Speaking of which, a legal perspective, in order to pursue having these challenges or having these damages paid unto you, these punitive damages paid unto you, those are the issues that you have to deal with. And then another kind of the increased overall liability on that property, being that if someone gets hurt on a property, we live in a society that they sue happen in opportunity they can sue, they will. There again, with the cons is you just have to find mechanisms to minimize the risk that's associated with the cons. And so, and there are ways to do that. And part of that, one thing I do is to manage the liability aspect of that. One, I have all my properties are in an LLC. So you can only sue the LLC. You're not going to sue me for personal assets. So your liability stops at the Envision Properties LLC. That's where it stops. Other thing about that, Envision Property has its own liability as well. So each property that I have, it has at least a $500,000. I shouldn't say that because somebody probably listening to sue me. In which is in which I have insurance to kind of protect. There again, I'm protecting my company, so to kind of reduce that liability on my company. But there again, keep in mind that those just because I have $500,000 in liability insurance, I still could be sued for $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
So just keep that in mind in perspective. But while there are challenges and cons out there, you just have to insulate yourself as best you can for your overall goals. Now I spend a little time on too much time probably on the cons, but I want the audience to understand that it is real, and I don't want to paint that it's a glorious picture all the time because it's not. I scratch my head a lot of times. I lost my hair as well dealing with real estate, but I'm just playing. That's a joke. But at the end of the day, I still enjoy it, and it's something. It's a passion that I do have, and I like to look. I like to provide for a family, so which is a con for me in terms of the joy that I have when families see a property that I have. They like the property because I take time and put time and effort into the properties that I have, so they are fairly decent. And part of that comes from my upbringing and realizing where we stayed and so forth. I felt like the landlords just wanted a check or a payment as opposed to providing us those services, providing us with working air and so forth, and addressing the needs of the house. They was more concerned with the paycheck. So I wanted to offset my childhood with what I'm doing today. So that's part of the doors that are a pro for me. And so that part of that type of intrinsic value that I get, it supersedes a lot of what I'm going to talk about in terms of pros, additional pros, like will have passive income. That's additional string of income that you will have to pay down on that piece of property or enhance your lifestyle as a whole. You have an increased opportunity to have net worth. As you gain more and more real estate, pay down on the debt, you have more your net worth increase. You also have an increased collateral pool or asset pool, meaning that that's money or properties that you can leverage to invest in other properties or other ventures. So that's just money in essence, just sitting there if the house paid off or has equity in it that you can utilize to expand your property or grow into another business venture. So there again, that's another opportunity, another product. A pro I see rather is the opportunity to just meet new people, meet new families, and because with that you just that will lead you to what kind of other realms or opportunities that will lead to by meeting new people. And so that's kind of the pros that I kind of look at and the things that I find joy in it from my perspective.
Wonderful. You have really given us information to think about. So my next question is, what is one piece of advice you would give to someone who is thinking about investing in real estate?
Thinking. Do your homework. I think I'll give you a couple of pieces of advice. I think one is to have reserves. Make sure that whatever your living conditions are or your circumstances are, just make sure you have the funds available to take care on this additional responsibility. Yes, it will make you money, but it also will cost you money. And sometimes before you can get to the profit aspect of it, you're gonna have to go through the expense or the loss aspect of maintaining or owning a home. Because when you're in your first year, most of your money you spending in terms of getting the property up to be able to be in a capacity to rent. And so you always want to be mindful that of those. You always want to have those reserves in place in the event that something negative goes wrong, because something will go wrong. I would say have a mentor. I haven't had a mentor. All the things I've learned probably basically has been on my own. And so by virtue, I call it tuition. I've paid a lot in tuition or learn from my mistakes. But sometimes you have a mentor, you can you can you can hurdle a lot of these mistakes that I've made or they have made. So a lot of times give you a greater insight. And they can steer you a lot better, or your path will be a lot straighter than those who may not have had a mentor. And
Mm-hmm.
also, I would say get you a good CPA. That is paramount because the rules of engagement certainly change when you have additional rental property. Case in point, I just realized I had did something wrong, and my accountant told me, no, you cannot do that. And I was like, oh. But at the end of the day, they do cost. But you have to look at by paying your tax accountant or whoever does your taxes. I mean, a CPA, not just anyone, but a legitimate CPA who does your taxes. Whatever cost you're paying them, there's savings on the back end because you just never know what they have saved you from IRS. And so
Amen.
those are the people that you do not want to deal with, and any other tax implication that comes along with that. So, and they may have even saved you from jail time too. So you just never know. But so I would say definitely have you a good CPA on your team that can address a lot of these issues.
Okay, wonderful. So you heard them, guys. Have a good CPA, have a mentor, do your research. That is very, very important. And one last thing, Antonio, what is something else that you feel like the audience needs to know? One last thing.
One last thing. Ultimately, that a lot of times I call myself in. I try to keep it real, be a realist more or less, and I want you to understand that it's not all glorious. And I'm not by me saying this, I'm not trying to deter you by any means, but I want you to have a realistic expectations in terms of, and this goes with real estate or any venture that you so decide to pursue, that it's not going to always be glorious. It's going to be trying times. It's going to be adjustments that going to have to be made in your life, and it's not going. Sometimes you're going to want to cry, and sometimes you're going to be joyous because something has went your way. But all in all, if you feel that you are to be in real estate or this is something that you really want to do, you're just going to have to be willing to get dirty with it, get down and dirty with it, and stick with it through thick and the thin. Because I told my dad, mix together. We just in it through thick and thin, and whatever it may be. Because I'm not divorcing real estate, gonna have to divorce me. So at the end of the day, that's just how I look at it. But you're gonna have your ups and you're gonna have your downs, but you should have more ups than you have downs. But when within anything that you're trying to do positively or to try to bring about um, uh, try to increase the lifestyle of your family or take your family or yourself to a new level, there'll always be new devils. And so always be expecting something to go wrong. And that's just a part of life. That's just it. And so, but there are true benefits to real estate. It is one of those areas to which you can find, build upon generational wealth, increase wealth overall, whatever you decide to do. And real estate is one market that's not going to go anywhere because people always need a place to stay. Because right now we all got to stay and work from home, a lot of us. So it's always just paramount. That's if you are pursuing and looking to real estate, just do your homework and just understand and take your time. I've made mistakes by rushing. I think that's just who I am sometimes, and so I may rush the decision. So to try to catch a deal, but just understand, just take your time. It's okay. The houses will always be here. That particular deal will be here. You may be waiting to find a better deal. But just understanding that when the timing is right, and just take your time and just assess the situation adequately. And just also just understand that things can go wrong and will, but you want to insulate yourself as much as possible from a lot of these things that will go wrong. But you can't insulate yourself from everything. But you learn from your mistakes and you build from them. Case in point, I just give an example. I think one of my tenants, they decided to break in my home after they got evicted. But nonetheless, that's one of the negative aspects of it. But nonetheless, the way I look at it, well, I thank y'all for helping me replace this air conditioner because they end up taking the air conditioner. I think they took a lot of the appliance and so forth. But there again, to insulate myself, I have insurance for all of that. So for me, it's not, you're not hurting me. You really have just made my situation a little bit better, at least for the new people that are coming in. And so the insurance essentially paid for all of that stuff to be replaced. And I said, so now the unit was already 15 years old, so now I got a new unit. So at the end of the day, you have to, these negatives that you will experience, I would say you turn them into a positive. For me, it was turned out being positive. Now the negative aspect, now I have to deal with additional issues to get this property back up to place. But I didn't miss any rent because you have insurance. I have insurance that take care of rent, loss of rents. That's why I said get you State Farm. Get State Farm. But they take care of a lot of these things. So that's what I mean by trying to insulate and minimize your losses as much as possible. And so when I went back, when I did the house, I went back with burglar bars. Burglar bars, the air conditioning unit, the windows, and all of that. So it serves as a deterrent. So now I know that, that's a possibility that this property can be broken into. So that's how you begin to insulate and minimize the cost on the front end. I rather cost on the front end than the back end, because a lot of times the back end is way more expensive.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Antonio, for this very insightful conversation. I hope the audience members learned something. I know I learned something about real estate and what I need to do in order to prepare to invest in even more real estate, because I am a homeowner now. So I'm looking forward to seeing where that leads to when it comes to other properties in the future. And I will make sure I take your advice and understand that even though real estate is another stream of income, it does come with its pros and its cons. And we must be not only knowledgeable, but equipped to handle, the stages of life we have to go through when it comes to, owning property or owning anything when it comes to real estate. So thank you so much. And I want to the comments are coming through, and I'm going to read some of them for you right quick. Oh, Brittany Cunningham Hamrick said, "Hey, Antonio, long time no see."
Hey, Brittany.
Shay said, "Hey, friends."
Oh, Lord. Hey, Shay.
Yolanda Knight said, "Love you, Tony."
Oh, Yolanda. Yolanda, you remember we was playing bands?
Oh, and Destiny.
Don't kill me.
Destiny Love chimed in. She said this was so good. She said she was actually going to go live on this very thing, talking about mentorship when you mentioned having a mentor. And she said new levels, new devils. And let's see who else. Carla says hello, everyone. Oh, she also said, "Hey, President Davis, I miss you."
Hey, Carl. Talked in a while.
Destiny says she loved you too. Does anybody have any questions for Antonio while I'm reading the comments? Like any questions you may have that he did not cover? We just kind of want to give I kind of, for this particular broadcast, I kind of want to get a basic level of real estate. If you have more in-depth questions, now is the time. We can hold it open for another 2 minutes or so. I try not to keep these lives no more than 30 minutes. So it's your time. Don't be shy. Don't be shy.
Oh, certainly. I'm an open book.
He is. He has a wealth of knowledge. I have known him for several years. All righty. Come on, everybody. Well, while we're waiting for comments to come through, I want to go ahead and let you know for next week's Financial Friday, we'll be discussing debt elimination. And I have an amazing guest that's going to be coming on live. I'm not going to share his name because I tend to not share my guest name until Tuesday. So just know, I'll give you a hint. He is amazing when it comes to paying off debt. He's paid near 100K in debt, and he's in his mid-30s. So it can be done. You can be debt-free, and he's going to tell us about it on next week when we talk about debt elimination.
I know
okay, she's going to call you for her question. And Cara says, I'm super proud of you, Antonio and Crystal. Oh, thanks, Cara.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just doing what God tells me to do. I've had this vision to really empower people to properly manage their money the right way, the godly way, and to understand that there are ways that you can create multiple streams of income. You don't have to just work at 9 to 5. You can have other things going on in your life. You can own a business. You can invest in real estate. You can I'm like, the sky is the limit. So just don't be so fixated on just having that one thing when you have the ability to create more in your life.
Yes, and I think we definitely share the same sentiments as it relates to that. And biggest thing when you sit from a spiritual standpoint, I will always stay and I stick by this is to tithe. I think that has been one of the key tenements of my success. The things that I've been able to have come about for me was my ability and my faithfulness in tithing. Now, granted, I have not always been that way, but I have learned that is a lot of times giving that 10% is really minute because when the government take 40, I can give God 10. So
absolutely.
But that I think a lot of times when you speak on that in terms of financial success, I think a lot of times that is tied to that. And so to whom much is given, much is required. And then I think if you pay for a few of these, I'll give you a minute. But that's just my take.
Yes, preach. And actually,
I ain't going that far. I'm not messing with you, Bill.
Listen, I'm going to talk about tithing on this Financial Friday. It's going to be one of these Fridays. I'm talking about tithing.
How I'd like to be a part.
Shay just chimed in. She said she don't have any questions, but I miss you all. Continue to do great things to both of you. Awesome. Yolanda has a question. She says, do you have property in our childhood area?
I actually do not. I actually was tried that. Somebody beat me on the bed. A couple of, I think it was last year, I was going to try to work on getting a house in Fairfield, our beloved Fairfield. But I got beat out on the bed. So two of them actually. And so I kind of felt like it wasn't my time yet. So just focus on other things. So sometimes it's okay to pull back and replan or redirect your effort somewhere else when sometimes you just feel like it's not meant for that time. And so that's what I mean by timing as well. But I have tried, Yolanda. I ain't gonna forget about us.
Oh, Antonio, you got an amen corner over here. Shay just said amen. Carr said amen when we're talking about giving and tithing.
I speak what I know of.
We need to know about.
Huh?
Do you have a calling on your life we need to know about?
No, not at all. That's why my phone on silent now.
Awesome. Well, it looks like that's the only question we had. Thank you so much for your questions, everyone. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for your love. We really appreciate it. This has been very impactful, very empowering, not only for myself, but I'm pretty sure it's been impactful and empowering to everyone that's been watching. So once again, check back next week for another edition of Financial Friday. It is at 3:00 p.m. Central Standard Time. And like I said, our guest will be talking about debt elimination, how you can be debt free. And of course, that information, who that person is, will be released on next Tuesday. Have a wonderful Friday, and I will talk to you all later. Have a wonderful one.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All righty.